Anthony Davis warming up ahead of tonight's game is looking more and more like himself because he's healthy over the last 7 games, averaging 31 points per game. As we've got the Lakers and Bucks coming your way, a doubleheader tonight. NBA Countdown coming up.
All right, last predictions. Who's winning the Pac-12 tonight?
USC's winning in a close one.
I'll go Utes. Why not? Countdown's next.
It's almost that time. Giannis Antetokounmpo has been rock steady for the Milwaukee Bucks. Actually, the only player averaging 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists so far this season. He also leads the NBA in paint points per game. But also in town, the Lakers and Anthony Davis, they start their 6-game road stand. And he is the only player averaging 25 points and 2 blocks this season. Those 2 stars go head-to-head. NBA Countdown starts right now. Get excited.
Welcome to NBA Countdown, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook.
Welcome to NBA Countdown, coming to you live from our Seaport studios, brought to you by Grey Goose. I am joined by the one and only Stephen A. Smith, Michael Wilbon, senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski, and I'm Chiney Ogwumike. I got my call up to the East Coast where it is kind of brick. Did I use that properly?
Yes.
Thank you. Filling in for Mike Greenberg, who is out with the flu, and also Malika Andrews, who's working the 2nd game of our doubleheader, Bulls-Warriors. But first, we got a star-studded matchup between the Lakers and the Bucks. So let's toss up that opening tip. Let's do it. So you know how we do. There is no better place to start than with LeBron James. Since his return from his groin injury, in which he missed 5 games, the Lakers have won 3 of 4, and LeBron has averaged 28 points and just over 8 rebounds per game. But not to be ignored, another big part of the Lakers' recent success has been a dominant stretch by Anthony Davis. He has averaged over 31 points while grabbing more than 16 rebounds per game in his last 7 games. Now, prior to AD, the last Lakers player to average 30 points, 15 rebounds, and shooting 60% over a 7-game span was Shaq during his MVP season in 99 to 2000. So, 20 games into the season, almost a quarter mark. Stephen A., how do we really assess the state of the Lakers right now?
Well, first of all, we give them props where it's due, because as awful as they showed themselves to be in the first 12 games this season, they showed that there indeed is life when they're playing against mediocrity. I would remind everybody that 3 of their victories have been against the San Antonio Spurs.
True.
Another victory has been against the Detroit Pistons, okay? They lost to the Indiana Pacers.
After being up 17 in the
That's
fourth.
right. But I will give credit where credit is due. When you're going up against DeAndre Ayton, if you're Anthony Davis, knowing everybody's going to look at that as a litmus test, and you drop 37-21 with 5 blocks and 5 steals. Listen, he plays like that with LeBron doing what he's doing. If somebody can hit a perimeter shot on a consistent basis, the Lakers actually have a chance to be respectable.
But you know, actually, Stephen A., the last 8 games, they have shot 36% from 3, so it's been better. But what do you see with the Lakers?
It's been better. I'm not willing to go crazy declaration on beating the Spurs 3 times. And especially if you watch the Indiana game and you watch them blow that 17-point lead. You know what LeBron's record in his career with a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter was?
Like 100-0?
403
Oh, close.
and 1.
Wow.
403 and 1. And the Lakers' record as a club in the same circumstance with 17-point lead in the fourth was something like that, 415 and 1. So, I mean, you go decades, you don't lose a game like that, and they lose a game like that. Look, I got to see something. They're beyond benefit of the doubt range. Brooklyn and the Lakers are in the same boat. There's no benefit of doubt. You got to show us. So you got to show us during this stretch, in which, by the way, I hate to go with these BPI stats, Woj, but it sounds like the Lakers have only a 50% or better than 50% chance of winning one of these road games, only one at Detroit. The others, not. Look at, I mean, come on now.
Oh, wow. And it goes back to the Pistons, right? So
The Pistons the only one.
So realistically, Woj, what can the Lakers do to improve their odds right there?
Listen, there are deals around the edges that the Lakers could do here between now and the trade deadline, but the kind of wholesale changes that people want to see, dramatic improvement, it's going to be really difficult. I think what the Lakers are faced with is, do we have 2 great assets that really matter, the 27 and 29 unprotected first-round picks, and whenever you gas those, whenever you use those, that's going to be your team moving forward. And I think for the Lakers, they look at next summer when they're going to have $30 million in cap space, keeping those picks. Then you're looking at deals at the draft, at the beginning of free agency. And I think for LA, what they're trying to avoid is doing a trade that might get them out of the lottery and into the play-in or late into the draft, into the first round of the playoffs and lose. They are trying to set up LeBron James and Anthony Davis for another run at a championship. And I think the deals that may be out there right now, they may not be good enough to use those picks on.
One of the dangerous parts about us doing NBA Countdown to see it's bad enough we got me and Will Bumper. We got Woj. So we ain't missing nothing. You understand what I'm saying? You look at the Los Angeles Lakers, right? Look at what Woj just said. You know what that brings the eye of the storm down upon? Rob Pelinka. Because as we look at this Los Angeles Lakers squad and we see it bereft of shooters and we're wondering the level of talent, I think their talent has improved. I think they've gotten better defensively, but they still can't shoot. And so now when you think about that $30 million and you think about those 2 picks, okay, yeah, you got all of that, but what you going to do with it? Do you have the right man to make the decision? That's what we're going to find out.
Well, he's on a new multi-year contract. He got it in this offseason. I think for the Lakers, a lot of teams in this league, they're going to be watching what happens with one of the teams we have playing tonight, the Chicago Bulls. Do the Bulls pivot at some point this season? Do some of their players become available? That's not the case now, but I think for the Lakers between now and February 9th, are there some high-end talent that is not available now that becomes available closer to the deadline?
Are we speaking of a certain guy who just was paid $215 million and is from Southern California? Might his name come up?
Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic. I think those are all players, people in the league. Teams are waiting to see, will any of them be available by the trade deadline? Right now, this is a Chicago team that wants to make the playoffs, wants to get a healthy Lonzo Ball back. They're not ready to concede yet.
And they've had the toughest schedule in the league.
Yeah.
They have. And also right now they are getting ready to go up against Giannis and the Bucks. And this actually, diving into the numbers here, I think when we talk about these 2 assets, he talked about the future, let's talk about the now. LeBron James and Anthony Davis have to be able to mesh well together, because what did Anthony Davis do when LeBron James was out? He blew up. He was averaging around 30 points, and we're saying he's giving you about 16 rebounds, but they have to play well together. If you notice in that Pacers loss, AD only had 2 shots in the fourth quarter. Now, how do you correct that, Coach Darvin Ham? Next time they play the Blazers, and what happens? What happens? He gets 14 points in the fourth quarter, and he takes 7 shots. So my question for you, Stephen A., is how do you game manage? Because we, of course, want to see when players are available in the future, but right now, how do you get LeBron and AD doing their thing?
Naya Gumake, you are lucky we are on Countdown instead of NBA today. What do you mean what they going to do? Anthony Davis demand the damn ball. How you gonna take 2 shots in the fourth quarter when you're in the averaging 31 and 60? You gotta demand the ball.
But that's not the personality over what, Stephen A. We do this every year.
Yes, we do.
And we go into the people who say he's a top 5 talent, but he's a top 5 player. That's not the personality. Anthony Davis is a Chicago guy. I root for him. But Stephen A., he does not
and he doesn't bring the ball up consistently.
Week after week, game after game like that.
There's a lot of things that a lot of people don't do, but ultimately when they get in the bag and they're being put in a position, we say to them, excuse me, you wanted the bag, you wanted the limelight, you wanted the weather in Southern California. This is the responsibility that comes with it.
The primary ball handler on the Lakers is LeBron James. Don't you think that there needs to be, as we saw versus the Blazers, a concerted effort to get AD the ball, knowing that that is not his personality?
Knowing basketball as brilliantly as you do, I'll reverse it by asking you the question.
Okay.
If you ask LeBron James for that ball, especially if you Anthony Davis, he ain't giving it to you? You know he is. You know he is.
How'd he get 2 shots in that fourth?
Because he didn't want it bad enough. You got to go get it. Come on, y'all. Come on now. You got to go get it. Period.
Was anybody going to... LeBron is a wonderful playmaker, but he's not Magic Johnson. His primary objective out there every night, Stephen A., in a competitive situation is not to give it up. He does give it up in critical situations. He does it brilliantly. Anthony Davis in the fourth quarter is not going to demand the ball from LeBron James. What's the pecking order?
Right, and this is what happens, too, when you don't have shooters around Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Right. Teams, obviously, they load up on them.
I agree.
They play off of the other 3 players on the court, and when you have a team and how you construct a team around those 2 players, I think that's where certainly late in the game where teams load up defensively on Anthony Davis, that plays a part in him struggling in the fourth quarter.
Why are you 3 acting like we don't know this? You're absolutely right. What we're not talking about what happened. We're talking about the fact that it shouldn't. If Anthony Davis sat up there and said, I'm that dude, I ain't trying to get traded to some cold weather city. I like it here in Southern California. I want to be here for years to come because I'm going to be here when LeBron James is gone. Give me the damn ball. They'll give it to him. You got to want it.
Well, LeBron James is not, as you mentioned, Magic Johnson, but he's close. 9 assists away from passing Magic Johnson for 6 all time. He might be able to get that.
That's total. That ain't average.
Yeah, that's true, but there's still some history. And by the way,
more than Irving.
we haven't addressed your beautiful turtleneck. So speaking of which, Mr. Wilbon, it's time to check out tonight's signature style brought to you by Zales. There's the Brody, Russell Westbrook. What do we think about the yellow? I think it's nice.
It must be